So, you're diving into history, thinking about ancient empires, medieval castles, and maybe even some dinosaur fossils. But what if I told you that some things we assume are ancient are actually younger than your grandparents? That's right. Some everyday things we take for granted today are barely old enough to have a midlife crisis. Pack your things and let's explore this together. Our perception of history is often distorted. We tend to assume that things that feel essential have been around forever. But in reality, some of the most common inventions, ideas, and systems that we use every day are relatively new. You probably think the internet has been around for ages, but the World Wide Web only became a thing in 1989. The first ever smartphone? That didn't come out until 2007. It's wild how much we overestimate the age of things just because they seem so ingrained in our lives. So today, let's look at 10 things that are much, much younger than you probably thought. The challenge here is our own perception. Why do we assume certain things have been around forever? It's all about familiarity. If something has been a part of your life since childhood, it feels timeless. But once you realize how recent some things are, it changes your entire perspective on history. What else do we think is ancient, only to find out it's basically a toddler in historical terms? Let's break down some of the most surprising examples. The QWERTY keyboard is so ingrained in daily life that you probably never question its design. But what if I told you it wasn't made for efficiency at all? Back in the 1870s, early typewriters had a nasty habit of jamming when people typed too quickly. To fix this, Christopher Sholes, the man behind the first commercially successful typewriter, intentionally arranged the keys to slow typists down. The result? A layout we still use today, even though modern keyboards don't jam. Over the years, alternatives like the Dvorak and Colmac layouts emerged, claiming to be faster and more ergonomic. But QWERTY refuses to go away. It's a relic of the past, locked in place by habit and industry standards, making you wonder, are we all just typing on a historical accident? And speaking of outdated systems, let's talk about something far more serious: emergency calls. Before 1968, there was no universal emergency number. If you had a medical crisis, a fire, or a break-in, you couldn't just dial 911. You had to know the specific number for the nearest police or fire station. And here's the kicker: those numbers were different in every city. That meant if you were traveling and something went wrong, you'd better have a phone book handy, or hope you ran into a good Samaritan who knew the right digits. The chaos of this system became painfully clear in emergencies, where precious minutes were wasted trying to find the right number instead of actually getting help. Then came AT&T and the FCC, who, after much debate, settled on 911 as the nationwide emergency number. The first ever 911 call was made on February 16, 1968, in Haleyville, Alabama. And just like that, a 3-digit number became one of the most important sequences in history, one that has saved millions of lives ever since. The microwave oven, a kitchen essential today, was once an industrial giant. When it debuted in 1947, it was called the Radarange and stood nearly 6 feet tall, weighing over 750 pounds. It wasn't just impractically large, it was outrageously expensive, costing about $5,000, over $60,000 today. Originally developed by accident, when engineer Percy Spencer noticed a chocolate bar melting in his pocket near radar equipment. The technology took nearly 2 decades to shrink into a countertop appliance. By the 1960s, smaller, more affordable models hit the market, revolutionizing the way we cook. Similarly, email, now an unavoidable part of daily life, was born in 1971 with just a simple test message sent by Ray Tomlinson. At the time, few saw its potential, as computers weren't even household items yet. Today, over 333 billion emails are sent daily, turning that one small message into a global communication phenomenon. Before 1960, if someone collapsed from cardiac arrest, your chances of survival depended on who was nearby and how creative they were willing to get. Some doctors tried slapping patients. Others recommended lifting and dropping them repeatedly. And some even experimented with blowing smoke into a person's lungs, literally. Yes, in the 18th century, resuscitation kits included bellows to pump tobacco smoke into the body, often through, well, let's just say, an unconventional entry point. It wasn't until Dr. Peter Safar and Dr. James Elam developed mouth-to-mouth resuscitation in the 1950s that CPR began to take shape. Then, in 1960, modern CPR was officially introduced, saving millions of lives ever since. Meanwhile, the iconic red and blue political map you see today, it's barely older than the first Harry Potter movie. Before the 2000 election, different networks used different colors, sometimes even swapping them. In 1976, NBC used blue for Republicans and red for Democrats, while CBS did the opposite. The colors weren't politically tied at all, just a design choice. It wasn't until the infamous Bush versus Gore election, when TV networks needed a standard way to track the chaotic state-by-state vote count, that the red Republican and blue Democrat divide was cemented. Now, it's hard to imagine election coverage without it, but just 25 years ago, red state and blue state meant nothing to anyone. Before 1930, painting was a tedious, nerve-wracking process. If you needed to protect a surface from unwanted paint, you had to painstakingly glue strips of paper to the area, hoping it wouldn't rip off the underlying paint when removed. It was a messy, inefficient, and frustrating system, until Richard Drew, a 3M employee, revolutionized the industry with masking tape. Inspired by the struggles of auto painters, Drew developed a simple but game-changing invention, a pressure-sensitive tape that could be easily applied and removed without damage. This breakthrough not only saved painters time, but also led to the development of countless other adhesive innovations, including duct tape and transparent Scotch tape, both of which became household staples. Fast forward to 1992, and an entirely different kind of convenience was about to take over the world: text messaging. The very first SMS was sent by Neil Papworth, a British engineer, and contained just 2 words: Merry Christmas. At the time, mobile phones didn't even have keyboards, so Papworth had to type it on a computer before sending it to a colleague's phone. What seemed like a small experiment quickly evolved into a global phenomenon. By the early 2000s, text messaging was replacing phone calls, shaping how we communicate forever. Today, people send over 23 billion texts per day, and texting culture has given birth to emojis, abbreviations, and even an entire way of speaking. And speaking of digital revolutions, let's talk about the selfie. While self-portraits date back centuries, the first recorded use of the word selfie wasn't until 2002, when an Australian man drunkenly posted a blurry photo of himself online, apologizing for the bad quality and calling it a selfie. The term stuck, and by the 2010s, front-facing cameras and social media made selfies an unstoppable trend. From astronauts taking selfies in space, to presidents and celebrities snapping pictures with fans, the selfie became more than just a photo. It became a cultural movement. Today, billions of selfies are taken every year, fueling entire industries, from beauty products to phone accessories. What started as a single blurry photo in an Australian forum has turned into a global obsession, proving that even the simplest ideas can change the way we see ourselves, literally. To top it all off, before emojis, digital conversations were a minefield of misunderstandings. In 1982, computer scientist Scott Fahlman introduced the first smiley face to help people differentiate between jokes and serious messages on an online bulletin board. Little did he know, this tiny arrangement of punctuation would spark a revolution. By the 1990s, Japan took things further, creating the first true emoji set, inspired by manga-style expressions. Suddenly, digital messages had tone, emotion, and personality. Fast forward to today, and emojis have become a universal language, one so powerful that Oxford Dictionary named the face with tears of joy emoji its word of the year in 2015. The real shocker here? Some of these things feel like they've been part of human culture for centuries, but they're barely older than a high school student. It makes you wonder, what things are we using today that future generations will think have been around forever? Maybe cryptocurrency, TikTok, AI chatbots like me? Now, here's the fun part. What discoveries did you make today? Did any of these surprise you? Or do you have something in mind that feels old, but might be younger than expected? History has a funny way of playing tricks on us, and our perceptions are often shaped by what we experience in our own lifetimes. So next time someone tells you, "Oh, that's ancient history," maybe double check before you believe them. Drop a comment below and tell me which of these surprised you the most. Or, if you know of something else that's younger than expected, share it with us. And if you enjoyed this little history reality check, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, keep questioning what you think you know.